Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. And today we have with us this afternoon from Stuart, Kane, Eve Brackmann. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you?
Great, thank you. How are
Good.
you, Jonathan?
Great. So I know it's the afternoon, but I have to ask you to keep it the theme. What's your favorite beverage of choice to get started in the morning?
We'll have an espresso machine, and so it's very specific, actually. I have coffee time in the morning with my dogs, and we wake up, we make an espresso. I put about a teaspoon of creatine and a scoop of collagen protein in there. And we sit in bed for 5 or 10 minutes, just relaxing and waking up. So,
Are your dogs have that too?
No, they don't have the coffee. No, they don't get the coffee. This is my favorite mug. It might be backwards, but it says.
Oh, yeah, it says. Yeah, I see that. That's nice.
Because I'm not necessarily totally a morning person, so.
I understand. That's why the coffee. The first thing I do when I wake up is I go in the kitchen, I make the coffee. I walk my dog, I come back, the coffee's ready, I drink it and have breakfast, and then I get started. So there you go. I'm with you.
We're like, yeah, you're with me. It feels fun to be able to have, carve out a little time in the morning.
Absolutely, for sure. So tell us what kind of work you do and what do you practice on?
So I'm a trial lawyer. I practice business litigation. I specialize in commercial real estate disputes, largely because that wasn't always my particular specialty, but it has been for about the last 10 years because when I joined my current group, we're kind of a full service commercial real estate firm. So we do a lot of transactional work.
Okay.
And it's kind of fun to collaborate with the transactional lawyers in a specific area of practice, as opposed to previously I was at a very large firm where there was just a lot of different kinds of things that we did.
Yeah, actually, I just had a call with another transactional lawyer in Minneapolis. If you watch the podcast, you'll see it, but also a real estate person. So what kind of real estate? What kind of transactions?
Well, I don't do the transactions, so I handle the disputes. We do a lot of shopping.
You just focus on disputes.
Right. I don't, if it's transactional, I send it over to the transactional department. We have lawyers who do that. So I go argue about things in front of juries. That's what I do. And before we get to the jury, we usually spend a year and a half or so litigating and trying to discover everything that happens. So for instance, currently I'm getting ready for a big trial in November. My client invested $10 million in a real estate development project in Texas.
Okay.
And, the developer paid themselves millions of dollars in fees, but somehow the project never made any money and went back to the bank. So we need to figure out what happened. So we have to do discovery. We have to find out, was there some misrepresentation about the capitalization of the project to start with? And was there, some strange things that might have happened with the funds during the time? And, what was the communication behind the scenes? We figured that all out. And then we go, sometimes it's a bench trial, in which case the judge decides things. And sometimes it's a jury trial, in which case regular people like you and me, I guess, since I'm a lawyer, I'd probably get stricken off the jury.
Right.
Since you interview lawyers, they might not, I don't know, they might like you or not like you, but people, we have to break it down and just sort of explain it to someone who might be in a totally different field, or might just, I don't know, it might be a captain on a fishing boat, who knows? And, we got to explain what happened in this complicated, business transaction. So that's what I do.
Oh, that's interesting. So you do a lot of trials in front of juries. It's interesting. I didn't realize that. So give me, is that a typical scenario that you just laid out there? An investor, something happens, as unexpected, or are there other examples?
There's lots of other examples. I had one of my clients is a national grocery company that you most likely shopped at, and they have a branch that specializes in making sure there's something called a food desert. And so for people who live in lower socioeconomic circumstances,
Yes.
they don't always have great access to good, healthy groceries.
Yep.
And there's also another thing, which is there's certain programs, government programs for like nursing mothers to be able to get what they need. And this company works with those programs too. And so this company, had a big store, we call big box retail if it's 40,000 square feet or more.
Yep.
In Boyle Heights. And they had been sort of going along every day, doing their thing, connecting with the community. And a local priest brought to their attention the fact that there was a major problem with the smell of marijuana, and that the landlord had leased out a lot of space in that same shopping center to a cannabis grower and retailer. So there were people coming from all over. It was even, it was before legalization of cannabis was more widespread.
Yes.
But it was after retail legalization of cannabis in California. And so people were coming from even other states to buy cannabis products there. And they were smoking it in the parking lot, and then the growing of cannabis. And they were partying, and there's videos of them having massive parties on the roof with people vomiting over the edge of the roof, and just crazy bacchanalian. Hey, back in college, it might have been something fun for all of us to do. That's but right. If you're just trying to go get groceries with your family and it's the only place you can go because you don't have a car and stuff, it's a real problem. The growing of cannabis creates, indoor growing is the safest way to do it, but if you don't do it right, it could cause a lot of problems too. So we had to fight with the landlord about whether or not this lease that was drafted in 1979 prevented the landlord from, renting premises in the shopping center to someone like that. So we ended up settling it, but literally on the courthouse steps. We settled it in the jury room before the jury came in.
So are you always on the plaintiff side, mostly?
No. So yeah, I just gave you 2 plaintiffs cases.
Yeah.
I've done so much defense side stuff since the pandemic because everyone who was a tenant, I had a restaurant chain that had 80 locations. And if you're a restaurant and you already have a thin margin and you cannot create revenue, you can't pay your rent.
Right.
And so we had to, there's something called the force majeure clause in a lease that is in a lot of commercial leases. And it means if something crazy like the pandemic happens, you still have to pay rent.
Was that considered? You probably don't know this, but I did commercial real estate for many years, so I know all the things that you're talking about. In fact, I used to work in Orange County with a developer that you probably know too. But anyway, that was COVID considered part of force majeure or no?
What a great question. Nobody knew. So we were watching every day, there were cases going through in other states, what are the judges saying about this? And every force majeure, as you know, right, every force majeure clause is different. There's no set language. So some might say government action is part of force majeure. Some might not say government action. If I'm defending the tenant and my force majeure clause doesn't say government action is part of the mayhem that requires me to still pay rent, then I'm going to say this was not as the result of a pandemic. This was actually to close because the government issued an order requiring me to close. Now, if there's, on the other hand, if the force, on the defense side, it's my job to be as creative as I can and still have some, within reason, right? You can't go crazy, but for my client. So if there is a government carve out in the force majeure clause, but it doesn't say pandemic, I'm going to say, well, the proximate cause of our trouble was actually the pandemic that caused the government to say. So, you argue these things and the other side argues their things, and then the judge has to decide, And it is an issue for the judge, not the jury, because it's contract interpretation.
So there isn't a precedent set for COVID yet for as it relates to force majeure. That's still subjective.
There are precedents set in different jurisdictions. We don't have a set precedent as far as I know. Somebody could correct me if they want to. I don't think we set a precedent in California. So I just don't think it got there. Perhaps if the pandemic had gone on for years and years, there might have been.
Because I would imagine there's going to be quite a few disputes around that, right?
Millions of dollars worth of unpaid rent in dispute. And to be fair, landlords shouldn't, the landlord shouldn't have to bear the brunt. A lot of, it's not my field, but I noticed a lot of residential landlords had to bear the brunt. Like they still have to pay their lender.
Oh, sure.
The government is literally saying you have to provide free housing to people. And so that's really, is that a taking? Then you get into the constitutionality of that. So there's a lot of issues, really fascinating for the lawyers to deal with, not so fun for the landlords and the tenants.
Yeah. So is that why they go to jury trials? Because these are complicated matters?
Well, Jonathan, it's interesting that you say that because most cases never go to a jury trial.
Right.
So that is a great question.
Right, I do know that. Yes.
Yeah. Usually, so first of all, if both parties are really reasonable and they get good lawyers involved before there's a lawsuit, like most of the time we can help, we can settle it. So,
well, let me rephrase the question there, because I realize a very small percentage ever make it to trial. But but with what you do, there's a very good threat that it could go to trial as opposed to a bench trial. So you're preparing in the event that it does go to a jury trial.
Right, unless it's very rare that everyone would waive the jury at the outset. So we're always, excuse me, we're always gonna have some more coffee. We're always thinking at the outset of a case, we're almost always at the outset of a case thinking, how will this look in front of a jury? How do we develop this so that we can hit all of what are the jury instructions? What will those be? How do we develop this case so that we can make sure we hit those jury instructions properly?
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. Yeah. Without spending too much time on that, tell me about how you became a lawyer, why you became a lawyer, and what that journey was like.
Why did I become a lawyer?
Give me the Reader's Digest version, but
what I tell my clients when they ask me, why did you become a lawyer? I say, because I wasn't smart enough to go into business.
How about that? But okay.
It's a tough way to make a living. But I became a lawyer because I wanted to be a professional. And my parents came from the inner city. My dad was from the Bronx and my mom's from Queens.
You're a New York person, moved to the West Coast.
We moved to California when I was 8.
Oh.
But I was born in upstate New York. Yeah. And I got the full blown Bronx, Queens upbringing. So don't worry. There was no margin for goofing off.
Good. I'm a Bostonian myself originally, and now so I understand what you're saying.
So going to law school, it was sort of, wow, that was the next step for my family. Nobody had gone to, professional, advanced degree professional school before. And I always knew I would work because, I'm a 3rd generation professional woman. My grandmother was a working nurse and a working single mom. Her husband passed away when my mom was still a girl. And then my mom, was a school teacher who eventually went on to go into school administration. And so that, it was, and then, it was just expected I would go to school and do something. But so being a lawyer was a dream. But what I found after I started practicing was that I really do enjoy being a professional, but I love helping my clients. And I have done a fair amount of pro bono. It always feels really good to be able to use all of the gifts and blessings that I have gotten, in my professional life and be able to help someone and maybe sort of dispel the rumor that lawyers are bad and evil and selfish.
Well, I mean, listen, I've talked to lots of you folks, and I would say what you're sharing is not unusual. People get into it because they want to help people, and they usually sound like pretty nice people. So I haven't met too many mean, bad people doing this.
Yeah, well, you never had opposing counsel in a multi-million-dollar business litigation.
That's true. Well, that's business. That's
They're
business.
all bad.
Yeah.
No, I take that back. No, I actually, in my practice, I usually run into some really amazing, wonderful lawyers. And again, 9 times out of 10, even after it's gone to litigation, we can work it out.
Good.
The problem is when lawyers on one side or both sides are unreasonable, and you get to a point where, usually in business litigation, there's a fee recovery clause. So the winning party is going to get their fees back, and the losing party has to pay the other side's fees. And so once you start getting into the 6 figures of fees that have been spent, a lot of times just as a business decision, it's like, we're kind of halfway through, let's keep going and go all the way through and see if we can win and get our fees back. So that can really drive the case. I had a lease dispute. Literally, my client wanted the landlord initially to return a $15,000 security deposit on a commercial premises that the landlord, he couldn't deliver. It was condemned property that he leased to my client. And she moved her whole, it was a medical office. She moved her whole medical practice there. She lost, a lot of income doing that. And she was just like, just give me back my security deposit. He was like, no. He refused that. She made that offer over and over again, even when we were litigating. No, I'm not paying you a dime. Why? Just because I shouldn't have to. Okay.
Wow. And that's when they met you. That's when he met you. He or she met you. Okay.
It's on appeal. We had a bench trial. We waived the jury because it was COVID and we couldn't, we just wanted to get to a trial. We couldn't have a jury at that time. And he owes her $450,000. She has a judgment against him for $450,000. And he had to deposit that money into the court in order to avoid having to pay the money to her while it's on appeal. And literally, I handle appeals too. I'm handling this appeal. I haven't seen his brief yet. I'll be very interested to see what in the world he thinks the court did that abused their discretion that he could avoid that judgment. But anyways, that's an example of, fees driving a case. We would have loved to settle it, but at a certain point, we had to just go through with the trial and get our fees back because it's in the 6 figures.
Right. Well, isn't the strategy to sort of push the case so far that, if they go to trial, they're probably not going to do well, so that they settle, right?
Sometimes that's a strategy.
Yeah. I would think. I mean, unless there's a whole lot of upside in there for the client, I would imagine that maybe that's why most things settle. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I just had many conversations with you guys, so I'm just asking questions.
You ask really good questions.
Oh, good.
That's a great question.
Well, let me ask you a question. So what do you think, now that you're a lawyer and you've gone through this and your story is interesting, what would you recommend that someone go? You said it was a bad decision. Would you recommend someone become a lawyer?
No.
How come? It sounds like you're pretty good at it and you have fun. Why not?
It's really a tough job. There's easier ways to make a living. I wouldn't change anything personally, but frankly, law school today is an enormous investment. I went to law school 20 years ago and it was a big investment.
Yeah.
But it's even more now, and just things have changed. It's hard to get those really great jobs, and but on the other hand, if you really love, look, there's so many different things you could do as a lawyer, right? You could be an intellectual property lawyer who helps people get their patents, right? You could be a lawyer in a pro bono firm that helps people, get social justice. There's so many great things to do, but I would say, just make sure you understand what you're getting into, and plan accordingly. You don't want to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans and then not be able to get a job.
Right. That would not be good. So could you shift? I mean, if you find this to be, maybe too much, can you shift to something else as you've been in this for a while? I mean, is that a consideration?
Lots of lawyers do. I wouldn't. I'm very happy. Look, I'm an equity partner in my law firm. We do well. I have great clients. I love my work. Again, it is really, it's a lot. It's a big giant commitment, right? It
Sure.
becomes like what you do becomes a little bit of like what you are. But
very true.
But yeah, lawyers do that all the time. They can go in-house, they can go into business. Lawyers end up, finding great business opportunities. There's a lot of different, if you're interested in going into like an emerging industry, like cannabis, right? In California is like we need good lawyers in that sector. And so it just depends. It really depends on the person, on the individual. I don't have any blanket advice for what someone should do overall.
Yeah, no, I understand. So given that you guys do a lot of, or you do trials from time to time, I mean, what kind of technology does the firm use, and do you leverage that? What's your opinion on using tech?
Well, when I first started practicing, we literally had giant rooms full of files. Like the racks that you have to like unwind so they open up, and that's like the A through C like rack.
Sure.
And we don't.
You don't have those anymore.
And when we were learning research, we literally had to use the key number system, which is you don't want to know what that is. It's like the Dewey Decimal System.
The Dewey Decimal. I knew you were going to say that.
Now we have online research where it's a Boolean search. You just stick in keywords.
Yep. Westlaw, you use Westlaw.
Westlaw or Lexis. We use Westlaw at my firm. And I love it. It's gotten great. You can put a brief in there called Quick Check, and it will tell you everything about all the new case law that's come out. Like, did you misquote something, whatever. That used to take like, you just have like associates like in a dark room somewhere hammering away that research.
Yeah, awful.
In 5 minutes, yeah. And in terms of document management, as I was saying, we don't do that anymore. We have my firm uses iManage, and that's, it's sort of just like electronic document storage system. Yeah. The courts have gotten on board with that. So now we do, you have to opt out of electronic service, and you can only opt out under certain circumstances. So we're doing electronic service. We used to mail boxes of documents, like giant, like discovery responses, all on paper, single-sided, like so many trees died those days. And also great technology is what we're doing now. So, I literally just argued before the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and I did it from my office on Zoom, or Blue Jeans is the system that they use.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What about like focus groups, mock trials, if you have to go to court?
So that's interesting that you asked that. Yes. So recently, not me, but one of my partners was getting ready for a trial. Again, one of those ones that settled on the courthouse steps, but we were all geared up for a jury trial. They did a mock trial. There was a company, I forget the name, that provides for that. And it was such a great experience. We learned so much about this tough case. And then I did recently a mock trial, a moot court. And so I don't know if anyone else does this, but I hired one of my favorite retired appellate court justices.
Yeah.
Justice Icola. He's now at JAMS. He actually wrote the first opinion on my first appeal that I won when I was a first-year lawyer. And he's been on the panels for several appeals that I've done. And so he's retired now. So I told the client, this is a big appeal. Why don't we do a moot court and have Justice Icola sort of preside? And his insights were amazing. So doing like a moot court type of thing or a mock trial, I think if you can get the budget from your client and it's the right case, it's a great idea.
Got it. Well, on the defense side, right? But what on the plaintiff side, where you're doing it on a contingency, I would imagine, right? So you're investing money in the case.
You're asking the wrong girl. We don't do any contingency cases.
Oh, you don't do any, even on the plaintiff side, it's all billable. No kidding. Okay.
Yes. So, then it's important to have a conversation with the client. This is what I think it will cost you. This is your chance of recovery. The difference between contingency versus hourly is who bears the risk, right?
Sure.
My firm doesn't bear the risk. So that's on the client to decide if they want to spend the money to litigate.
Got it. I understand. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm used to, we talk to a lot of, personal injury, medical malpractice, civil litigation. They do a lot of it on contingency, right? So they have litigation financing, right? All these resources to help them fund things that they think they will help them get a better outcome.
Right. And, I have brought those opportunities to clients before and said there is litigation funding. I mean, it's not just law firms that can do that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, banks. Yeah.
Can get, there's companies that will invest in your litigation and convince them to invest.
Oh, that's true. There are hedge funds now that do that.
Yes, there are. Yeah, actually, I know some plaintiffs lawyers who've made millions of dollars investing in them.
It's a big business now. Yeah. I know it's a big business. In fact, there's a sort of a crowdfunding platform you may have heard of. It's called Yield Street, and they actually have a litigation financing product that people can invest in. So it's ubiquitous now. I mean, it's down to Main Street. It's not just everybody's involved with this stuff. It's amazing how they've productized all these esoteric type of products.
For sure. I don't know what it does for the profession. So I think there's a lot of debate about that. There's also a movement in California to allow non-lawyers to invest in law firms. And for the most part, lawyers who've been around for a while, including myself, are against that. I think it damages the integrity of our profession.
Yeah.
Going back to why I became a lawyer, I wanted to be a professional. I didn't become a lawyer to make money or something like that. It was to have a profession. So when things happen that could damage my profession, it feels upsetting. It feels worrisome for me.
All right, good. You have a lot of integrity. That's good in today's world. I'm glad.
Or I'm faking it. One of the two. You'll never know.
Well, I assume you're being genuine. Okay. All right. Well, listen. This has been fun. We'll wrap it up for now. But what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your practice?
I guess they could go to the Stuart Kane LLP website. That's STUARTKANE.com.
Okay.
And I'm on there. Just click on attorneys and you'll see me.
There you go. I'm looking at your page right now. Excellent. Well, listen, this has been a lot of fun, Eve. Thank you very much.
Well, me too, Jonathan. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to chat with you this morning and have a latte with you.
And have a latte. Exactly. Although I'm done with my coffee because I'm on the East Coast. So
yes,
I'm on to other types of drinks.
Is it 8:00 yet?
No, not yet. I'm in between those, coffee and that segment of the evening.
It's a tough spot. You'll get through.
Yeah, I'll get through it. Anyway, this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, which is a legal tech company that uses artificial intelligence that helps lawyers prepare for mediation and trials. Thank you again, Eve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.